Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to specify fee amounts for the different fees that you might have. So let's go right ahead to this link that says fee amounts. So we click on fee amounts, and here you can see that I already have some fees that I specified amounts for. In fact, I'm using some data for a particular school, which I won't mention the name. And you can see that they already created some fees like stationery, school fees, project, and they also have this fee called PTA funds. And then I added some category just for testing purposes. So I added this category called less privileged, and I added also another category called early comers, but this really doesn't make sense. It's just for demo purposes. Now, how do you specify how much is payable by the pupils? So this is the interesting part. So if you scroll down on this page, you'll see this form here where you type in an amount. So here you can say the amount here is going to be 700. Oops, 700. Then this amount that you've typed here, 700, you have to tick which classes does this apply to. So if let's assume that we want to specify this as which fee did we add? Grade 7 exam fee. Okay, remember that we have this fee called grade 7 exam fee, and this grade 7 exam fee is 700 kwacha. Alright, so then all you do is that you say, okay, this is 700 kwacha, and applicable fees, you tick grade 7, you tick in there, and then this doesn't apply, it applies to all grade 7s regardless of the category. It doesn't matter. So this fee doesn't have anything like categories. You leave this blank. You just tick there where it says grade 7 exam fee, and then which classes does it apply to? The fee name says grade 7, right? So obviously you just need to tick grade 7s here. If it's a fee that applies to all classes, then you simply tick all classes, and then it means that this 700 will be applied, will be expected to be paid by every pupil in all classes. And then you tick the years that this fee is applicable to. Now, the fee this year might be 700. Next year it might change to something else. Now, if you know that next year it won't change, then you can tick that this 700 applies both to 2020 and also 2021. Okay, if you have a policy that fees don't change maybe in 2 years. But if you know that it's something that applies just this year, you simply tick 2020. Next year again, if the fees change, you can modify the fee amounts and say, okay, now this amount applies to 2021. Okay, so let's do that for this exam fee. We're going to say that the grade 7 exam fee is payable by the grade 7s and applies to 2020 only, and we can save that. Okay, so when we do that, we expect to see that fee here in the table. You can see that now in the table we have grade 7 exam fee, amount payable is 700. There are no categories there because everybody should pay it. And who is everybody? Everybody means everyone in grade 7. Okay, and this school, now notice that we don't tick according to grades but according to classes, so you can actually be very specific. You might find that maybe those in 12A, maybe they're taking very special subjects, so everybody in 12A pays a higher amount of something than other people in other classes. So instead of you just saying grade 7s are paying this, or it's up to you. You might say that, okay, actually this class is paying this amount, or that class is paying that amount. So you're very specific, so you have to tick all the classes to which this amount applies. And in here, because this school only has one class per grade, that's why you're saying that there's only grade 7 there. So this grade 7 actually doesn't mean the actual grade, it means the class. And you can see there they have a baby class, they have a middle class, and so forth. But this is how you define the fees. Now let me show you how you can apply. Remember, we have a transport. In fact, we don't have a transport fee, so let's add a fee called transport, which we're going to apply these categories to, these distance categories to. So let's go back to the fees and let's add a fee called transport. pick up, then we say this is an active fee, and how is this transport fee payable? Do the students pay it per year, per term? So again, like I said, if this is something that you want to standardize such that every term the pupil is expected to pay, or every year, then pick any one of these three. Now remember that if you say one off, it means the system, once a pupil has finished paying that 700 or whatever amount it is specified, the system will never ask for it again. Okay, and that will be very bad. So obviously you can say maybe this is payable per term. If you say it's per pupil, this means that this is something that you have to specify for each and every pupil. You have to type manually what each pupil is paying, and you wouldn't want that. Okay, so transport fees you might standardize. Now there could be some pupils for whom you cannot really standardize their amounts, and that is where maybe you can say, okay, this is payable per pupil, and then you can put the actual amount that. In fact, you can work like that. So if your transport fees, so let's do this. I'm going to show you that later. So now let me show you the standardized format. If you want to, if you want to standardize the transport fees for the pupils, so we add the fee and say this is payable per term and update. Then we go back to the fee amounts. So under the fee amounts, we can say for transport, the pupils will be paying, let's say 1,000 as an example. So who pays this transport amount? Now, this depends on what you decide on. Okay, you might create a category. Okay, if you want, you can create a category for pupils that pay transport fees, similar to how you'd have a boarding fee. Okay, a boarding fee which applies to boarders. So even that, you'd have to create a category called boarders. Maybe I'm going to give you an example of that as well, so that you can actually get this clearly. So let's get started. Let's do this transport one. You see how it works, and the same principle you can apply it, for example, to boarders. So you have an amount called 1,000, and you're saying this 1,000 will be payable. In fact, I need to change. So for transport, you're going to say that, well, everybody is going to pay. Now remember that some people might not be interested in them, in paying this transport fee. So in that case, what you could do is define a category, okay, a category called transport payer or something like that, pickup, or whatever it is that you can call it, so that you can tick all those who will be interested in being picked up. You can tick for that category together with the distance, for which the fee applies. So let's do just that, because if you tick all classes, it would mean every pupil in every class will be expected to pay that fee, including those who are not interested in paying the fee. So that wouldn't be nice. So we can go back to the categories, and let's add another category here called in fact, then we should have left the transport thing, because then it makes sense. Let's call it school pickup. Okay, we've created a category called school pickup, and so when we go to the fee amounts, we're going to say, let's say that this amount we're going to define is for all classes, right? So you get this clearly. This amount is going to be for all classes, meaning for all pupils in all classes, those who've said that they want to be picked up. And let's start with those that live within 10 to 15 kilometers. Okay, and we are saying that this is an amount for transport. Now let me go through this again. So in fact, let me put an amount. So those who live between 10 to 15 kilometers per term, let's assume that they pay 500. So what does this mean? What we are saying here is those pupils in any class, so this is why we've selected all classes, meaning any pupil in any of these classes who says that they want to be picked up and they live 10 to 15 kilometers from the school, they have to pay a transport fee or 500 kwacha. This is what this means. Okay, and then you can save this part. You save that, and you're going to see that it appears in here in this table. So this table says the transport fee is 500 kwacha for those pupils who've signed up for school pickup and they live 10 to 15 kilometers, and this amount applies to 2020, and it can be any pupil in any of these classes that are listed here. You can filter the classes and say I only want a few classes. Okay, so if you're not happy with this, you can delete what you've done here. It removes everything and you can redo it. Alright, if I say no, actually this transport fee, we just want it to be for baby class, middle class and reception, then you can delete and select only those classes. You can recreate this. By the way, when you delete this, it doesn't affect the amounts that the pupils have already paid. So let's leave that. Now let's define for those who live 10 to 15 kilometers. So now we're going to say those who live 10 to 15 kilometers will be paying 1,000 instead. Oh, that was 10 to 15 kilometers. Okay, fine. So let's say those who live 5 to 10 kilometers. Of course, if you made a mistake, you can just delete it. So let's actually do that so that I show you. I can just delete this, and then I can say this 500 is actually for those who live 5 to 10, not 10 to 15. So I save it again, and you can see that it appears, and now it shows correctly. 500 for those who live 5 to 10 kilometers, and then for those who live 10 to 15, they'll be paying 1,000. So I change it to that. So be careful with these tickings. Don't tick this again, because if you do that, then it means you're defining another fee for for the same category, which is not good. So now we are saying for transport fee, those who've signed for pickup and they live 10 to 15 kilometers in any of these classes, they should pay 1,000. So you save. Okay, and you can do the same thing for the last category, which is we say that these will be paying 1,500 if somebody lives more than 15 kilometers. Now, of course, here for some people, you might want to just do something that is pupil specific, because I mean, if somebody lives 16 kilometers, would it be fair to charge them 1,500? So that will be up to you to decide. This is just an example. So here we can say those who live more than 15 kilometers are going to be paying 1,500, and we can save. So now you can see the use of these categories. The same transport fee, we are saying those who live 5 to 10 kilometers pay 500, those who live 10 to 15 they pay 1,000, those who live more than 15 kilometers they pay 1,500. And this for all classes. If you want to limit the classes, like I said, you can delete whatever I've defined and just redefine again. You just pick the classes that you want. Now, why did we add this other category called school pickup? Because we want this transport fee and all this stuff only to apply to only those who've said that they want to be picked up. We don't want all pupils. So you've selected all classes, but not all pupils in these classes may be interested in paying this fee. So that's the flexibility that you have there. So now we've defined these different fee amounts. The other fee amounts I won't show you. It's the same principles. The other one I wanted to show you was the boarding fee for those of you that have boarders. Okay, so we can also have an example there. So let's define a category called boarder. Okay, that's what we're interested in. I mean, you're not interested in a day scholar, because a day scholar then doesn't pay. Well, maybe they might have their own fees. So the same thing, you can simply add a category. So let's add another category here called boarder. You call it boarder, and then maybe just call it boarding fee. Nope. Boarding fee should be the fee itself. Here you say boarder because that's the category of the pupil. Okay, so remember, you have the category, which is something that is going to tell the system to distinguish who pays what amongst your pupils, but you still have to define a fee if you want a boarding fee, because as you can see in this list, there's nothing like a boarding fee here. Okay, so yes, we define the category, but which fee will that category be applying to? So you must define the fee. So we can create a fee here called boarding fee. We just tick that it's active, and we can say maybe boarding fee is payable per term, and then we update. So we have a fee called boarding, a boarding fee, and then we have a category that we defined that will distinguish the pupils. So we have a category called border. So when you're defining amounts, you can say okay, boarding fee, let's say maybe will be 900, so they can be eating a lot of beans. So 900, this can apply to all classes, it doesn't matter. So you tick all classes, and then on the categories, what kind of pupils should pay this fee? Only the boarders, right? Not the less privileged or whatever it is. I mean, you can still, if you want to drill down and say, oh, you know, the less privileged, for the border, who are boarders, they should, and they're less privileged, you can still do that. Just like we did for the transport, we said those who are doing pickup and they live 10 15 kilometers pay this much. So you can still do the same. But here we're just going to say anyone in these classes who is a boarder must pay the boarding fee of 900 kwacha, okay, per term. And then you can specify that this amount applies to 2020 or it applies to other kinds of years. Then you can save. And that's how you do it. So it should appear there in the table now. You have boarding fee 900 for 2020 and so forth. There are some fees that I defined that they apply to up to 2021. You can see there that even the other years are showing. But the rest have only said that they go up to 2020, meaning next year they might change. So this is how you create fee amounts for your students. All right. In the next video, then I'm going to show you how you can view what a pupil is supposed to pay.